This video is of USS Saratoga CVA-60 on her June to November 1970 med cruise with Carrier Air Wing 3 on board. You can see the letters AC on the tail of the aircraft designating Carrier Air Wing 3. And the film was a silent 8mm film, and it was marked President Nixon Air Show, Launch and Recovery of Aircraft, and Saratoga refueling a destroyer. And President Nixon visited the Saratoga when she was in the Med in September of 1970 on the 28th. And while his party was on board, he was given an air demonstration. And also, when he was on board, the president of the United Arab Republic, Gamal Abdel Nasser, passed away. And there was a lot of tension when he passed away. They thought there would be a big crisis in the Middle East. So Saratoga was handling all the intelligence that was coming in for the president until he departed the following day. But yeah, just a great look at her right here launching aircraft. And you can never, I can't make out President Nixon in this footage. You'll see everybody's on the flight deck watching the air show, and I assume President Nixon was up on the bridge viewing it, and the person filming this didn't seem too interested in him, seemed more interested in, rightfully so, filming the air show. And yeah, then it's going to get into the refueling of a destroyer, which is a little dark when it gets to that point, but I try to lighten it up as best I can. And I believe it's USS Richard Kraus, DD-849. And you can see her anti-submarine missiles about amidships when she's refueling, and they're marked with the phrase "ship over," which was a recruiting slogan back in the 60s and 70s. But and here I believe we're getting into the air show that President Nixon would have been watching on the 28th of September 1970. And yeah, I'd love to hear your comments. Hope you enjoy this look at USS Saratoga CVA-60 and I believe USS Richard Kraus DD-849. And she was a Gearing class destroyer. So enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this bit of history. Try to upload military and patriotic videos to my site here, about every other day. And if you're interested in a good read, check out my books at www.edsemler.com.